Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I think we'll get started. My name is Meghan Forbes, and it's my pleasure to introduce Lenka Glisníková to you all, who maybe doesn't need so much of an introduction in this room. But as some of you know, she's a Czech artist based in Prague and the recipient of the prestigious Jindřich Chalupecký Award last year in 2023, which is granted annually to visual artists under the age of 35. And before coming to New York for her current residency here at RU, Lenka had just finished out a solo show at Meat Factory in Prague called Moment of Seclusion Over the Horizon, which had opened in late 2023. So last year was a busy year for you. And in 2022, she also had a previous solo show of her work at City Surfer Office, a gallery in Prague, with the title And No One Walked Away Empty-Handed. Lenka started studying photography at the Faculty of Arts in Ostrava and then completed her MFA at the Academy of Arts, Architecture and Design, or UMPRUM, in Prague. And her approach to photography, as she put it to me, is to torture it. So that is bending and mutating images to become sculptural in form. And she puts her photographic practice into conversation with various technologies of transmission. So that might be computer parts or old phones, and her installations invite an experiential engagement with these media. And we have one example of her work here in person, physically with us in the room. Lenka takes photography to its borders, so she deconstructs it, makes it almost corporeal or cyborgian. And tonight we're fortunate to have this opportunity to hear her speak more about her own work. So she'll be walking us through her practice for a bit, and then we'll come back together in discussion, and finally open up the floor to audience participation. So enjoy, and passing it on to Lenka.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this. I would not say it better. And also thank you so much that you came here, and also thank you so much for having me. Also this amazing residency unlimited experience. It was just so amazing time here, and also I'm glad that I met you guys, because it was really nice. And I think I will come back home in 1 week, and I will just cry for a few days. Stop making art for a few days, and then I will come back. But so I'm happy that you came here, even maybe if you know a little bit my work, so I hope it will not be so boring for you. But okay, let's go quickly maybe through my portfolio, and maybe I will be now more descriptive, because then with Meghan we will be more maybe going into conversation more deep about some stuff. So I will be trying to, with my English vocabulary trying to describe what's going on in the pictures. So this is okay. This is the show what I done last year. It was exhibited in abandoned hobby market store, and this was this award thing with another 4 finalists. So in that time, and everyone wants to show just something what's thinking about, and what is his practice. So this is something what is haunting me for maybe 5 years. I am trying to think how this technology is influencing maybe our bodies and our lives and blah blah blah. I'm a photographer, so everything starts with the image for me, and maybe sometimes ends with the image, as here. So I presented here 15 pictures, 15 pictures cut out from plexiglass. And it was installed in these white industrial tubes. In the space, it was very high. For example, this right image. This is 15 meters. The scale is 15 meters up. I'm sorry, I don't know in U.S. Measuring system. And it was kind of experience that you could walk around, and some pieces were very far and you cannot really see them. Some were super close, so you can see real parts and real textures and And yeah, and this is a plexiglass which were like a little bit transparent, so you can see through it. Also, you can see the you can like multiply small layers together. And this is my last solo show. I actually like packed it like 5 days ago before I went to US, and I created like kind of so I'm a photographer, but sometimes I'm like sometimes I'm always going into the more like sculpture, intermedia installations, more into architecture, let's say, because we will talk about it later, I think. And this is I created like kind of like 50 objects, I think. Yeah, it was like something 50 objects. And I hang them in a space because the space was I don't know, height was high, but it was very high. And you could walk under the installation, so like only way to look to the works was just like looking up. So you have to move around, and you would always see like in the different angles the artworks. This is something what was on the floor. So like now I'm confused what I should tell now and what will be discussed later, but let's get through maybe this very short portfolio. This is my older work. This is a kind of like also experiment what I could do else with the photography. I mean, this is the torturing moment here also. Like I'm not like really respecting maybe kind of like history in photography, I would say, or like I'm more like looking into the future in this photography moment. I'm not afraid to destroy the picture, to destroy the composition, whatever, the light. Like for I don't know if, for example, this exhibition was failure, but I somehow enjoy that the picture, it collapsed in so many levels, like you cannot see it anymore, just with very close viewing, but what I like that you can, like, if you want to see a whole picture, you have to walk around, because I have a picture and I make it liquid, and then I pour this object what I created before into the kind of
mold.
Kind of mold, and then the picture get like cracked and got around the object. So if you want to see one picture, you have to move your body actually around the poles. It was installed like that in the space, like kind of division in different positions and hierarchies. And this is for me it's now for me like very old work. It's my diploma show in 2019, just before Corona, and also I was in the time I guess I find my interest like these influences from technology, but also like how the human labor will evolve. So it was kind of like first step to start to work. This was first time I start to actually just take picture of my own picture. So just like maybe here like example how my work evolved through these, like, I don't know, 4 or something years. So maybe I think this is it from now.
Well, thank you for giving us so many images to start with and look through. And I wonder, maybe it makes sense to start with your most recent set of work. So the show that you had at Meat Factory, and I just missed this show myself. I got to Prague, like, I think when it was just wrapping up. But to give you all a sense, it's sort of like a church-like structure. Like, it's very tall and high ceilings and quite an intimidating space, I would imagine, as an artist to fill. And not seeing it myself, but through the images that you've shared with me, I think it's really impressive the way you invited people into that space and to engage your work in the way you're talking about, like from looking from below, looking up, and the way you also use lighting in the space. And because your objects, your artworks, the photo sculptures themselves are sort of animate and kind of play with this space between object and almost having a life of their own. I wonder if you could talk maybe a little bit more about what you wanted from the viewer, the visitor, to Meat Factory, and because that seems like a really important part of your work is the way people encounter it. And since we're all here together, not able to see it besides it's in images, but kind of sense that togetherness in your work, maybe you can talk a little bit more about how you accomplished those sort of interactive elements with that installation, also through the lighting as well as the way you hung the objects.
I think it's very simple actually, that I want that the viewer when enters the space, like the viewer has some present moment and also some bodily experience of the artworks and the space. So actually I think this is actually it. And I think it comes from maybe that we spend most of the time like connected to some networks and being digital and touching this super glossy screen, perfectly designed. So maybe this is something what you have to actually experience by your own body, but also by your own senses. So it's you have to measure the artwork like by your size, by yourself, by your eyes also, and also sometimes by your touch. That I like to evoke these senses, because also maybe like I'm interested a lot into like nowadays technology, like how it's influencing us, how it's like making actually our lives, giving us some structure or stuff like that. But also like, for example, like scents, which I'm not using in the exhibition like for a moment, but this is something like what machines cannot steal from us. Like this is some very human experience. So, but also then like touch, which I think it's very connected to these artworks. This one, that we have this haptic need of touching, because we are all the time touching these glossy design smartphones. So we are kind of frustrated. So I think it's coming from the frustrations actually.
Well, it's very satisfying, like having had the honor of touching this work. It's very satisfying, like to pet it and to feel all the grooves in it, which are these textures are coming from materials that are sort of like mass produced or industrially made, and yet then you're like, I think we can also get a sense from these works you're showing now, like how haptic and tactile they are and invite touch. So how do you think about that when you're installing a show, for example, at Meat Factory, where people, well, those are quite, it was probably too hard, like too high to touch, right. But for example, some of your other work is definitely at the body level, and are visitors welcome to touch, or it's just they're tempted to, but no touching?
I would prefer maybe more tempted to. Maybe I have to think about what we were talking before this session here, kind of therapy for maybe for people like to be able to touch stuff. But because then also like the artwork could be destroyed. So I'm like dealing with this like artist and the therapist thing. And in the installation there was some artworks which were down, and I know that they were moving because they was always in different places every time when I entered the space. So I couldn't like control it, like there was no guard. So but it just like reminds me I'm sorry if I like it just reminds me like when you said like industrial materials maybe so maybe I also like to put this against to contrast that our human need of touching stuff to like the contrast, like now everything is fabricated and made through the machines and through the factory, so like I like to choose to be opposite, and I like to choose these very industrial materials for my artworks and then make something with them like complete, like you have feeling, you have kind of like life inside of it, and you have to touch it and stuff like to go against its nature, or maybe against we like thinking that this nature is like this, but maybe it could be something like, I just like this contrast, but maybe we
Well, so could you talk a bit more so others understand, like what are these objects that are sort of kind of creeping out from your photos here? Like what are these industrially produced objects that are part of these sculptural works?
So the process is kind of complicated, and sorry if I start somewhere in the middle. But actually maybe I'm like too obsessed with working, so like in one moment now got into very intimate like level of speech, but in one time I was like so scared that I will have no job or I will lose job, so in one moment I decided I will have 3 jobs in one moment, and I'm still doing
Relatable.
I'm still like continuing until now. So I'm an artist in one way, then I am photographer. I run the studio with my friend and making like commercial advertisements and stuff like that, like like normal photography which should tempt you to buy more stuff. And then I'm like also the artist. Oh no, I forgot. And then I am working in the like biggest Czech media news, and I'm working there as a photo editor, and I'm buying pictures from the agencies and making making kind of like articles just with images, like what's going on in the world, like what's just like kind of reportage. So so now back to the maybe the items which are inside items. So when I work in this like big corporate, I ask them like if they can give me like some technology stuff, some devices which they don't use anymore. So so they give me like many phones like on like with these wires and this, but then also a lot of smartphones, with the Apple phones, like a lot of keyboards, computers, and a lot of cables. Like I have so many cables at home right now.
Do you organize them somehow?
No.
Okay.
I'm just
curious, like color coded.
I'm trying, but it always then finish in like one big mold. So so this is also a source for me to search for materials, that I'm taking something what company like decide that they are not going to use anymore because it's not functional, and so at home I'm like dismantling them, like these iPhones and other computers, and putting away this, like the stuff, and looking what is inside of these machines. And then I am using them in 2 ways. In one way, I am taking pictures of like this. Just no, it's okay. Why? I'm just taking picture of these pieces, but then also I like putting them. I'm making like this, like kind of handmade sculpture, I would say, like this thing, which then creates the inner body or the inner structure.
Yeah, like they're making them